But no, there's way too many games. Even just Baldur's Gate. Like I'm trying to have like 3 different groups playing, and I'm like, how much time is this gonna be?
Yeah, that's my thought exactly. And I'm interested in playing Remnant 2, but I feel like I would want to play it with like another person. I don't know if I have anyone that's like, damn, this game looks sweet. But maybe I'll try Remnant 1 first. Although apparently Remnant 2 is like really good.
Did you play the first one?
I have not played the first one, but
It-
I love third person shooters, so it's pretty. But I hate Dark Souls. I'm horrible at Dark Souls games.
oh shit. Well, I
I
was gonna
just
say like if you've played Dark Souls, it's pretty much just Dark Souls with shooting.
I've heard it's easier though. My thing is like I just have zero patience. I'm like a I fight the boss like 6 times. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'd rather just play something else.
Yeah.
I'm bad at non-multiplayer video games.
Yeah, I was surprised that Dave the Diver was single player. I was like, is it gonna be like a Stardew or Terraria or something like that? Because I'm really
Yeah,
bad at doing my
that's
single
pretty
player
cool.
games too. Like, I'll say I'm gonna play it. Like, I got Hogwarts. I played a little bit of it, and then just kept playing more League and whatever
Yeah,
other. Yeah,
that's exactly what I do. I'm like, damn, this new game's fun, but I could be playing Smash right now.
I know. I'm gonna do the same thing when Final Fantasy comes out too, the new one, that Devil May
Oh, and
Cry fighting type one.
oh, nice, nice. Yeah, that'll
Yeah.
be sick.
So is Smash still your main game? Like your main? I go hard for this.
Um, I think so. It's hard to say. I honestly, God, League just tilts me, man. It's like it's like you go into a game of League and it's like people are just always on edge, and it's like I
Yeah.
have like I found like a direct connection to me like playing solo queue and like my mental health. I come out of a week, I'm like, damn, this week sucked, and I'm like, oh, I played a lot of solo queue, but arena's nice. I like arena a lot because I can kind of just mess around, and plus my girlfriend plays, so it's fun to play with her.
Oh,
And
that's
then
awesome.
uh and then TFT is really nice because I can just like turn my brain off and.
Yeah, the majority of my playing is ARAM, a little bit of
That's the
Arena.
way.
But I do try to,
Yeah.
like, grind solo queue a little bit because, like, I still coach my league team, I still follow
Sure.
everything, I try to stay up to date with it, not as much as I did before for sure, but, uh,
Yeah, I'm an
I
ARAM
feel
enjoyer, of
obligated to do
course.
it. Yeah.
Keep your skills up.
Do we have to start? We probably have to start, we're probably gonna run out of time. I haven't not run out of time yet, like, I write down all these bullets to talk about, and it's like, "Oh shit," like, it's coming close to the hour. So you have, like
Hey, that's a good thing. That's a good problem to have.
you have till, like, 5:20-ish your time, yeah?
Yeah, give or take. You can go like 525 for chilling.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, the beginning, I want it to be, like, all about you, so yeah, I know some things about you. People watching aren't gonna know things about you. Um, but I think it's also I want it to be like, or if you're cool with it, like directors learning about current directors, old directors, and big informational on that. So anything you want to go into, like bullet points of you,
Cool. Yeah, sounds good to me.
it's all yours now.
Oh,
It's
okay.
giving it to you. So the bullet points of like
Sure.
the career, why you got into it, what it was like at UTD, like anything you want to
Yeah, sure,
know about
sure.
this branch.
So I grew up in New York, and I moved to Pennsylvania when I was in about 10th grade. And
Mhm.
then from there, finished high school, went into college. And I graduated from Kutztown University, which is a state school in like Bumblefuck, Pennsylvania. It's in the middle. Oh, can I curse? Is that okay?
Oh no,
Can
yeah,
I
I don't.
curse? All
It
right,
doesn't
cool.
matter.
It's the middle of nowhere, PA. And I actually got my degree in music education. And so really early on, I had a strong love for teaching, strong love for like student success, education. Just really, really liked just the scholastic field. But at the same time, had a really strong passion for like video games. I was a huge LCS fan. I'd watched LCS since like literally its inception. So just really, really big esports. And so while I was teaching, after I graduated college, while I was teaching, I got pretty big into tournament organizing. I started my own League of Legends league. From there, kind of worked on Overwatch and stuff like that. Tried a bunch of different games, but primarily League of Legends. And then I was able to get the opportunity to go to UT Dallas as their esports director, where I ran their esports program. It was a perfect fit for me. It was a combination of like my experience within Scholastic and my experience working with students, but then also my esports passion and kind of my esports interest on the side. Super really amazing opportunity. The students there are amazing. The school's awesome. It's in a really nice location right in Dallas. This I literally went there to interview, and then the second time I was there, I was moving in, so it moved pretty quick, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Um, and then yeah, from there, kind of as I was at UTD, really loved it and enjoyed esports very much. Had a lot of fun. But while I was doing it there, I realized that I had like my strongest passion was within like tournament organizing and like league management, like slash competitive operations. So I started my own college Smash League while I was there. I ran a Texas Cup for League of Legends, which actually was it's really funny. I when I started at Riot, my manager, I like went back and looked at my Discord DMs like to talk to him, and I found out that I had actually coordinated with him on a League of Legends tournament that I ran for Collegiate. And so yeah, I got really big into league management, competitive operations, and that's what led me to Riot.
that's awesome. So with getting there's a lot I can ask with that. So, I mean, music and gaming, that could always be something you do. Do you think it ever happens? Or is it
um,
tournament organizing is like the pure passion now?
No, I think one way or the other, I'm more interested in like the teaching aspect. Like I would love to teach an esports class or
Mhm.
like some kind of like esports class of something or gaming class. I think the music side I really enjoy a lot, and I think it became more of like a hobby than it did like a career path. But it's
Yeah,
also like since I was like band and orchestra, like I'm gonna be honest, it was so hard. Like it really, you have to like put like grinds nonstop every day, practice, 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 just to like get a music teaching job to make like 25K a year, 30K a year. And
yeah.
so, I think that aspect of it was like really just wasn't super appealing to me. Like I love working with students. And so I find myself that I could go back and teach, in like an esports realm, but I think the music aspect is now just like a side hobby for sure.
I think you for sure, like, easily, even, like, right now, if you wanted to teach, had time to teach, or, like, even, like, long down the road of, like, you're retiring and you just want, like, a side thing, there's so many teaching things. I mean, my school asked me to teach. I think there's a couple other I think there's someone, probably close working relations with you, the teacher at Northwood. I forgot her
Yeah.
name.
Victoria Horsley. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And my manager's manager, Matt Dasha, teaches at UCI. So I definitely know it's out there. And like, even to like your point, colleges are only having it more and more. My secret dream goal at like the end of my career, I don't think this works as well as it does in traditional sports, but I want to do the pro career or the career of like working in esports, like the pro, and at the end I want to go and be like a commentator, like like the old guys that are like, oh, here's my 40 years of experience, and
yeah,
talk about all the stuff they've been through while getting to watch games. Like that's the dream in the end, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
that'd be sick, and I mean, you're definitely en route for that. Yeah,
It'd
there's
be fun.
you have so many different routes, like, available to you, and even if it changes, like, you're still on pace. So, what's it like being, you've been there 2 years now, right?
I have, yeah, or 2 years and like a month, so basically 2 years, yeah.
Even just, like, the personal being in California, like, what's the difference there? Is it
Um,
enjoyable, you wanna stay, or, like, I wish there was more geolocation to this?
No, I honestly really, I mean, this is pluses and minuses. I honestly really love it here.
Mm,
I think, like, obviously, like the generic California things that suck, like the traffic, the rent's high, and stuff like that. Obviously, that's not ideal. Not fun. But I like the idea that I can do whatever I want whenever I want. Like I can order any kind of food any type of
oh,
day,
yeah.
really anywhere. A lot of stuff is open really late. It's also there's a lot of like gaming culture stuff that's tied pretty heavily in Los Angeles. Like Anime Expo happened here like a couple weeks ago, and it's pretty huge.
Did you go, by the way?
What'd you say?
Did you go to Anime Expo?
I did not go. I had a lot of friends that went that
Yeah.
said it was a lot of fun at least.
Okay, I was gonna ask just 'cause, my brother DJs at anime conventions and stuff like that. He got Anime Expo last year, and then this year, I saw just, like, a lot of tweets about it, like, it was just super crammed, they oversold tickets, so I was gonna ask if it was, like, bad or good, but if they said good, it was probably fine.
Yeah, from people I talked to, they said it's actually like not that bad. Like obviously it's really busy, but from those that have gone in years past, like they kind of knew what to expect. But I definitely think, we're getting to a point where people have a really strong desire for those events. Like it's becoming more
Yeah, yeah.
socially acceptable to be like like an anime fan or a gamer. So I think it's only going to be bigger and bigger from here, which is kind of cool.
A lot of people's, like, main vacations. We have one that happens called,
Yeah.
Colossal Con here in Ohio, it's, like, an
Mm-hmm.
hour north of us. And it does like big outdoor water park, indoor water park, and like when you stay there, you're spending a lot of damn money. It's hard to get a hotel
Oh
room.
yeah,
It's a week long and it's fun. It's like it's awesome. So
yeah.
I'm all about it. I've gone like 4 out of 5 years that I've been here. We didn't go this year, just because I really wanted to like practice being a vegetable this summer, and I think I'm doing a good, doing a good job. Like I haven't worked that much. I don't even have student workers this summer. Um,
Nice.
I think this is like the normal process of like working collegiate. You're able to still
Yeah.
be ambitious, but you need to like be healthy enough to where it's like I'm gonna turn a lot of things off over the summer.
Yeah, definitely a really nice time. I mean, plus also the students one way they are definitely like also taking a break for sure. Like they're
Oh yeah,
chilling,
yeah. Mhm.
so it definitely does not hurt.
Yeah, even with me wanting to do a boot camp with all my teams in a week from now, all the students that are like gun ho, they're varsity, they try hard. This is like their main thing. They still just want to be a vegetable a little bit
Oh
longer.
yeah,
Like, no,
oh
I don't
yeah.
want this one extra week of training. So, yeah,
That's it. You gotta have that break time to make up for it for sure.
yeah. This is the first summer I've done a decent enough job to where other summers, if I try to do this, I'd be like in a regret mode right now. I'd be like, man, I feel like a piece of shit because I just didn't do enough. I'm not doing enough for my program. But I think there's a certain point, like when you mature as a director, and you can talk about if you matured as director, like because you did it for like 3 years, right? Maybe.
Yeah, 3 years actually. Wow.
Yeah. I was just guessing that because we were on like somewhat the same timeline. So like
hmm
I'm 5 years now. You probably started 5 years ago, and you did 2 years now
Yeah,
where I'm at.
it's weird to think about that it was 3 years because of COVID. Like
Yeah, it's
I
almost like
always
a pause
forget.
button. Yeah,
Right,
like a
right.
lot of things did happen, but those things that happened are like they're enclosed in that one bubble of what happened in COVID. Like it doesn't matter for like anything else.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
COVID also won't talk about that one way or the other, but it also like changed the game too. I mean, there's a lot of schools that were looking to hire esports related positions and they just like didn't because of COVID. So it
yeah,
kind of put like the collegiate esports scene on hold basically for like a year or two. So it's pretty
and
interesting.
that's like somewhat of the theme that I have going on now. Like I'm thinking like all these random thoughts. So like one of them was like COVID made a lot of people do it online. COVID made a lot of people that like were gonna hire and they set up a program and there was a program to run, but then there was no employee for it. So like the club took over, the students took over. And like the main theme I was talking about with like a lot of like D1S schools or like bigger program like with clubs and whatnot. So like last week we did UT Austin and they have a huge club. And I my main goal, like selfish goal with this was like asking the question, is it a bad thing that these clubs are basically running the program for the school? I don't know if you watched last, but it's like it
hmm
could be a bad thing. Like these schools could be convinced, and I think a lot of them did get convinced that the students are just going to do it. Just keep it as it is. Like they don't know what they're missing out on. The school doesn't even know what it's supposed to do, but they see that the students are happy. They're doing it still. They're competing.
Right.
They have to spend no money on it. It just comes from maybe some student recreation funds that they get from like student senate or appeals or something like that. And
Yeah.
I feel like it's a huge problem. I don't think it's going to be a continuous problem because you have people like University of Illinois doing stuff. UT Dallas is probably an example. Um, State schools, but it was a struggle for me to find state schools that were like doing stuff at the pace privates were.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Honestly, I don't know if it'll ever catch. I mean, I'm sure maybe one day it'll catch up fully, but it's gonna take a long time to get there. Like the biggest problem in those examples is you really need someone in like leadership of some kind that truly like I don't want to say is endemic, but like knows gaming and esports to the level of like,
yeah,
wow, I'm interested in this because they have to be able to like talk and fight on your behalf because it's like one thing when you have a non-endemic like admin coming in because they don't even know where to start. They don't know anything about gaming. They don't know anything about esports. So now it's on the students to not able to be like not only explain to them the basics of gaming and esports, but to also make like a business case for why supporting their program is worth it, rather than already having someone there that can like fight your fight for you. Because it's
yeah,
like it does feel like we're moving past, hopefully at least, maybe not as a 100%, but it does feel like we're moving past like admins getting in the way of students. Like they're not shutting these programs down as much as used to. They may not be
yeah.
supporting it and like actually giving it funding, but they're at least like stepping it out of the way and not being like directly harmful to its existence at all. So I think that's at least in the step in the right direction. But yeah, it's really tough to find people that like are passionate enough about it to get in the weeds to like make it happen.
Yeah, and I think, like, nearby to me, Michigan State and Ohio State, and, like, the private schools, it's happening, just I mean, it's out of desperation, it's happening with a lot of them. Some passion, some endemic people, but the state schools where it's like, even if you do have an endemic person, there's so much bureaucracy and, like, so
Right.
many people you gotta get through to where it happening, it does make sense business-wise. So, like, OSU hiring someone, Michigan State hiring someone, even though they don't have, like, the full scope of what a program should have, be it, like, maybe scholarship, maybe some housing benefits, maybe some link to athletics, all these things they don't really have, but they at least have like a facility, someone looking over it, someone helping them sign up for stuff, and maybe some travel. It's just like it's going through the slow steps that 5 years ago happened with the privates
Yeah.
or some of the smaller schools, or I guess like sub-state schools. I don't really know how state schools like identify themselves, but like
Yeah.
I don't know if UT Dallas would call itself like the state school. I don't know much about Texas, but there's maybe like one that is the Texas school, and then there's like subs.
Yeah, UT Dallas definitely like a state school in the sense of like if you live in the state you get like a lower tuition, which is really nice. Honestly,
Yeah,
UT Dallas, like as far as like its location and like for esports and stuff, it like is pretty kick ass. It's like right near Dallas, which is
yeah,
becoming like a stronger place for gaming and tech. It's a large state school. They have about 30,000 students, and their best degree is computer science.
yeah,
Literally all things made for gaming and esports. They're unique because their program is like their athletics program is Division 3. So they have like a lot of struggles between like, to your point, there's the UT, which is UT Austin, which is like the school, right? But at the same time, UT Dallas has 30,000 students. I mean, it's I could be wrong. I could be changed but now, but I'm like 90% positive it's the largest Division 3 school in the country. It's like huge. So they have to like struggle with the like little brother syndrome to UT while also trying to fight and be like a large state school. But I think that's why gaming and esports is such a nice fit there because it kind of fits that nerd culture. Like computer
yeah.
science is big. Like they don't have an orchestra, but they have an anime orchestra.
Oh,
Like
wow, that's crazy.
that's a UTD, you know?
That's crazy, that's awesome. But, yeah, all of this, like, kinda aligns with, like, the path that esports is going, and I mean, there's so many things I wanna get, like, your opinion on, like, my brain's going all over the place. But to stick, like, to the one topic so I don't go crazy, um, with the clubs doing the work of the school, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think it actually is, like, inhibiting the schools from, like, doing more? Is it that much of a problem? Because I mean, there's probably I would hope that there's some people that watch this that wanna be directors, and a lot of these wannabe directors are, like, their club presidents right now or people
Right.
building their resume in college, and I know that some people watch it with, like, that in mind, or, like, they're brand new directors and they're trying to, like, build some resume at a small school or community college and then move on to these bigger schools that are, like, close to home where they came from. Uh, there's gotta be some tactics to push, but I mean, if it's not a problem, then you don't really have to push, so
Yeah. It's kind of hard to say, right? Because like what's the opposite end? They just don't do anything. Because then at that point, if admins don't care now that it's like chilling and successful, then if they don't do anything, then admins are gonna be like, oh, they don't care enough to like. It's kind of like a lose lose, unfortunately, one way or the other. I would
yeah,
say it's better to have any kind of program, even if your university is not going to recognize it, because then you're at least, to your point, you're still getting that experience, right? Like as a
mhm,
student, you might not have like the support that you need, but you're still getting these opportunities to work in like team management. You still get an opportunity to be a coach, to write, do content, create, to run a stream. It might not be like the higher end experience that you're hoping, but it's better than nothing, as much as it sucks to say. Because like the opposite end, if your admins don't care when you're doing well to make it better, they're going to care even less when you're not doing well, because like it's going to be a reason to really not support it at that point, unfortunately. So it's better than nothing, but it is kind of like a double-edged sword of trying to find that success.
what would you say would be, like, a tactic at all? Like a program like UT Austin or there's gotta be other school, I'm just, like, failing to f but you know the school that has, like, a big program, state school, big school, they're doing it, they're not gonna get anything for a while. That's what my school is, SAUE, it's in Illinois. They're not
Mhm.
gonna get anything for a while, but the opportunity lost is just your camera's going crazy.
I don't
The
know. Yeah, I don't know
opportunity
what happened to it. Did I just
no,
break it literally mid chat?
it'll
Let me see
figure
if I
itself
can
out.
let me see if I can mess with it.
Why? What's
Uh,
the tactic here?
yeah. What do we? Go ahead. All right. All right. It'll load
It'll figure
eventually. I'll
itself
sit
out.
still enough. It'll refocus.
Do you use
Um,
anything like, I use NVIDIA broadcast thing, like, I could have it, like, put my eyes on the camera the whole time if I wanted
no, I
to.
should though. Honestly, I just use my generic ass webcam. Um,
Oh, it's a good
no, but
webcam, it's definitely better than some of the other people
yeah. Well, clearly
webcams that
not that
are
good. Couldn't last like an hour. Oh,
Oh, nice,
we're
nice,
back.
there we
We're
Oh,
go.
back.
there we go. We're good.
All I need to do is complain about it. Um,
What was I
um,
saying? The opportunity cost, I
tactics.
mean, yeah, like,
Yeah.
you see my point though, like, they're doing it on their own, but there's a huge opportunity to just get more, like,
Yeah.
just opinions on what could and, like, my opinions, I always go to, like, to the drastic, like, it could be, like, pure mutiny, we're gonna go to a different school, or, like, don't try
Yeah.
as hard or whatever, but, like, still it diminishes, like, your point of, like, you're still able to get the experience, you're able to do most of
Yeah.
what you wanna do, there's things you can compete in, you can still gain, like, all the resume building that you need to. The only thing you're missing out on is, like, what these other schools have, like, if you're a big school, big program, and you're not getting the things that, Illinois is getting, University of Illinois, like, you're an Overwatch team close to as good as them, and they're getting all these opportunities, and they're going pro and stuff like that. It's like
Yeah.
there's a big FOMO there, and I think a lot of students, it's too late until they notice that.
Right.
They're already at the school, transferring school is not an option. You're already like midway through getting your degree and your certificates and all that stuff. Uh, like it is naturally going to slowly change, I think, but I personally like the idea of making it change faster because from my point of view, probably your point of view too, just like growing up, I'm probably older than you, I'm 36. And I just had nothing in school at all. Like anything that happened, I had to
Same.
create. And like everyone that has this stuff now, I'm like super passionate about like getting more and more people to have it. Even if it's not my school, it's someone else's school. That's like the passion behind doing this podcast is like equipping people to do more.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. I think like there's kind of two parts to that. I think number one, on a very basic level, like let's take like your example to heart here, right? Like let's say you're a junior in college, you're going into your junior year, you've been there 2 years, you have a student, you have a club program there, but admins couldn't give less of a shit. It's a successful program. I think you're kind of can look at it twofold. Number one, you can look to other schools. Like it might be hard to transfer, but being like, hey, I have an offer from this school, like I'm considering going here, and all I ask is that you do this. Like you could try to leverage it. I feel like
Yeah.
it might be a tough sell for admins, but it is possible. You just because you might not necessarily want to go to school there, you could consider it like a job and like leverage. But I think on a more basic level, I think students need to. It's going to kind of suck to say, but if your admins are really not involved, they ignore emails and stuff like that. I think you have to start like crazy, crazy, crazy small and start with like your student government. Go to your student government and say, we literally want $500 to do a travel to this event. And that's all we need. You travel to the event. And then off of that, as a club, if you're a club that wants to take that next level, you need to know exactly what the goals of your club are and what the goals of like your admins would be. Okay, so if their number one goals are student recruitment and I don't know, people talking about the school publicly, like saying they're representing the school.
Yeah.
Well, here's we'll be on stream. Here's the other teams we'll play against. Here's us being able to talk about it. And here are
Like
the
the
students
conferences
from
you can join. Yeah.
right, right. Here are the students is now on campus that are going to join because we're starting this, because we're doing this event. Here's the campuses. So I think you need to really identify what the goals are of admins and then build your ask directly into that. And you have to start really small. As much as it sucks, like one really small move that goes really well is a stepping stone because that's all it takes. I mean, even Gateway Legends, like the first Gateway Legends was like crazy. Like it was like a big event, a ton of teams and stuff like that. And it might not have been exactly what they were looking for, but because it went well, they're like, okay, now we can keep going with it, right? Like all it takes is one successful attempt of something to keep going, and to like get those conversations started. And if you truly have nothing, like your student government could definitely fight for your behalf. Like they're close to it, admins, especially if you're able to make that ask. But then also on top of that, you can go to as many different departments as you can and find out what their goals are, like computer science, marketing. You could even do more on-campus events, like community events, and try to tie that into it. Um, So you have to start really small, find the goals that your admins care a lot, and then build your pitch like directly into that, and just build everything around that to try to get something to push that to other things that you might want.
Yeah, and even if it doesn't start, like, in your career of the school, like, that's what I did with my club at my school. So, it was just a club, I wanted to play with people. I wasn't even the president of it, it was, like, some other guy was the president, I was just doing the team building and whatnot, and I thought I was gonna die when we all graduated because all the leadership graduated all at the same time, but then the club just kept going because there's passionate people there. The club still stays on, like, the student government website, and, like, different
Right.
schools have different things, but it's able to survive, and it's able to survive more if you help it survive. But now it's taken a step, like, my state school took a step, they have, like, a facility, and they have a IT guy assigned to that facility.
Nice.
That's still, like, nothing
Yeah.
compared to, like, what some schools have, but those small steps, it just shows, like, from experience and history of it, it can be what happens, and, like, at my school, ONU, there was just nothing. This is the rare occasion where, like, someone in admin just heard that it's working at some other schools, and then we went for it. What
Yeah.
was the story with UTD? Was it, like, a
Um,
club that grew up, or
Yes, UTD is actually interesting because their League of Legends team, like the year before I got there, their League of Legends team was actually got to top eight. They got to the LAN, like the CLO LAN. So they already had like really strong teams. They just didn't have like a formalized like program of any kind. Like they were all over the place.
yeah.
So basically that's where I came in the mix, is to like bring everything together into one formalized program. But like, to like my point before, because the school is like really like nerd centric, it was like super easy to like be able to find existing clubs and stuff like that. Like even like the Smash team, like, I mean, our Smash team, I still to this day think the UTD Smash team that we had would smash any of the other teams that exist. And they were literally just like local students at UTD that were already there,
Yeah.
just because of like how stacked the area was for Smash, and how good it was. And it was just like I honestly, I got so lucky in being able to find those students and kind of keep them in like a good place and like recruit them.
Yeah.
But really, the school being in such a location that is, and like the major degrees and stuff, it was so good for esports.
Yeah, a lot of schools kinda, like, do the work for you, and then it ends up being, like, you're just there managing everything, doing the maintenance
Right,
part.
bringing it all
It
together.
Yeah, and it becomes, like,
Yeah.
different, like, when you or I or anyone else would explain the job of what being a director is or, like, building a program, it's always, like, completely different. So, I mean, that's why I'm trying to bring in, like, a bunch of people that worked at bigger schools. I'll probably section off to, like, doing a bunch of privates and bring it back around to year by year. Um, so did you have connections with those Smash players or anyone that was at the school to get you that job, or was it just, like, apply, go interview?
No, it was apply go interview. Honestly, I that was like my first. I had interviewed at other places, but that was like the first. I actually got offered a job at another school in Ohio, actually. I believe it was called Defiance.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It was a long time ago, But that was also the time I was interviewing UTD, and I really wanted the UTD one. Um, Honestly, I just came in like crazy prepared. Like I had like a deck on what I wanted to do with the program, like examples of like, what they could do, how well the teams are doing, like, where I would recruit from. Like
Yeah,
I just came in super prepared because I know I really 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 wanted it. And I also think I benefited heavily from the fact that I'm a pretty big sports fan, and the department is in the athletics department, and so I consider myself really good at being able to like talk to non-endemic sports fans about esports and make it
yeah.
something they can like understand. And I think the sports department really liked that about me. Like I could talk to anybody about esports and be comfortable, and be able to like talk to other coaches and get their feedback and stuff like that. And so I think that definitely helped a lot, but it was kind of just like a perfect combination of all worlds.
I think even with that, like, being a liaison between esports and athletics, if you would ask me, I don't know if you agree, but, like, one of the biggest skills, like, sure, being able to, like, know esports and know the players and be able to have them confide in you and be, like, a good manager and have the trust to, like, build the program and whatnot, that's definitely needed, but I would say the biggest skill is, like, for the job and getting everything done correctly is being a liaison between the parties that matter. So, if you're under student government, student rec, or athletics, or just your own thing under, like, an upper admin, you have to know how they think and talk and be able to go along with, like, their itinerary for everything and their agenda. Because if
Right.
you come and that's, like, what you did is kinda opposite what I do, so I still kinda interview for jobs, not because 'cause I'm looking for jobs, it's probably stupid to say this, like, live, but I'm usually not looking for jobs, but it's kind of my way of spying on what these schools are
Sure.
doing, how my school can implement what they're doing, just, like, see realistically what's going on. Because usually when someone gets the job and you ask them about it, they kinda, like, hold their eggs in, they don't tell you exactly what's going on sometimes.
Yeah.
Uh, but the interview, they tell you everything, like, they tell you
Oh
what's
yeah.
going on with scholarship, the facility, budget, if you're gonna have people you could hire, why they're doing
Yeah.
it, if they want recruits and whatnot.
Yeah,
Um,
the second year of COVID, or like when UTD was going back in person, like that's when I got my job at Riot. That like year, I was applying for like every college job under the sun. So I was like interviewing everywhere. And so definitely you can really learn a lot about their program from interviews. I very much agree
yeah,
with that. And you can
and
really see what, especially like when I interviewed at UTD, like I did, like I'd done a couple college interviews, but not a ton. And so like that was my first like, oh, this is like really seeing what a college is doing with it. But now knowing what I know and like knowing like what general admin goals are and like what a good program versus what a bad program is, going into these interviews and like hearing like now I'm really on top of like what these admins are saying. Like when am I like, oh my god, my BS meter's going off here,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you can really tell what's up and who knows their stuff and is like, on top of it.
But they can also tell from you too. So, like, the way you
Right.
went into your UTD interview, um, so when you came in with all the preparation, did you do that right from the get-go, or did you, like, get a initial interview, get some prep, and then you're like, "Okay, these are all the things I need to look up."
It was kind of a combo. So I had my initial phone interview, which was kind of a pretty basic one, but I honestly, I just like it was
Were you
kind of
ready
tough.
during that phone interview, or did you
Um,
do it afterwards?
Yes and no. I think I was in a really I think like the sports aspect, like being able to like you said, be a liaison was strong. But I think the strongest thing for me was the fact that I already had a teaching degree and I had a strong like interest and like experience in esports on the side. So it's
Yeah.
like they knew I would already be good with students. They knew I was already teaching, so I'm not gonna like student success is already on my mind, and then I just put esports on top of it. So it's like it's really hard to find, like when you're looking for an esports director or a coach of some kind and you don't want to take in people that are already experienced, it's really difficult to find people with like good experience, like oh, this person's workplace experience would make them a good director here. And I feel like I had a really good case for that. And so I honestly just pulled a lot like from that. I pulled a lot about student success because I knew that's what they would want to talk about. But I also talked about like like high school sports and college sports and how they recruit. Like I know how colleges like to talk about recruiting. So I kind of like talked about just like my general scholastic and college like experience, and it like hit all the points that they wanted already.
And you probably kept I'm assuming you probably kept doing that, like, after doing the couple years at UTD, when you started doing these other interviews, you probably, like, didn't have to prep that much because you kinda know, like, all and you talked to so many people, you were pretty, like, good at networking and talking to, like, the other schools and what they were doing and whatnot. You probably built up enough experience and knowledge to where you could, like, take any question that they were giving you or, like, any perspective of, like, they want you to recruit or they want you to be, like, a good outreach or they want you to be, like, academics and research or something, and you can just morph it because of the experience you had. Is that true?
Right.
Yeah.
I think so. I think it definitely helps. I do think there's always some interesting ones. I interviewed at the University of Arizona. I was actually interviewing for their director job, like right when I got the Riot
Oh, yeah,
one,
we
so I
talked
pulled
about
out
that
of
because
it.
we were both talking about yeah,
Oh
I
yeah,
remember.
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. And they actually talked like a lot about like diversity and inclusion within their program. And
Mhm.
we definitely done some at UTD. Like we had our women in gaming and like other endeavors, but nothing like heavily like as much as we should have. And so
Yeah.
that definitely took a lot more work for me. Being like, wow, like I like should have been doing more. Like that was actually pretty cool because it was pretty reflective. I was like, damn, like they have like some really strong ideas and like fundamentals, and I'm just like missing the mark. And that was like one of the interviews where I was like, okay, like this is really, they're pushing me a bit beyond my boundaries, which is what I like. I like when I can come into admins and they're like, yo, you got to be doing more at this. I'm like, oh, it's true.
Yeah, and Wyatt probably remembers me saying this so he can, like, check off that I'm not just lying to you. When I was doing those same interviews, I went pretty far too, and I, talked to the president, and she brought up a lot of, like, DEI and, research and stuff like that. Um, and I don't know if I failed with this or not because I didn't get feedback, which sucks. It'd be cool to get feedback. I did do a lot of the groundwork with my program where, like, you try to help people, like, on a really personal level, and she called it, like, being in the weeds. where you're like you're doing the work
Hmm.
what DEI usually proclaims it's going to do. But I didn't have any examples of like me proclaiming what I do and what
Yeah.
processes I claim to do and whatnot. So it felt kind of weird hearing that because I feel like proclamation statements don't go that far, and it's weird to say that they do go that far because the experience and the actual maintenance of it should be more. Like if you talked
Right.
case by case, the person saying like, "Yeah, this helped a lot," is way stronger than looking at a document that says you do it and say like, "Look, I do it."
Yeah.
That was kind of weird to me, and I still don't really know. Probably would still fail with that. Like if someone
Yeah.
cared a lot about a proclamation statement, because like a lot of director level people that aren't in the weeds, that's basically what they do. They just like they have all these processes, and your underlings are supposed to follow those processes. And it seemed
Right.
like that's what the Arizona job was going to be. Yeah. And
Yeah.
also, I'm finding out not having masters is a lot. Have you done masters yet?
Not yet, not yet.
Yeah.
Honestly, oh gosh, like I finished my college degree and I was like, thank God. Like, I
Yeah.
oh gosh, I was so I couldn't even imagine doing online school either. Like I took like two online classes and like barely passed them. So maybe one day if I
I think
if I
you'd be
feel like,
fine, and
you know.
especially now with ChatGPT. Have you seen like
True. Yeah,
so
true. That's
so Wyatt
oh,
knows this because
ChatGPT.
Wyatt just graduated. Like he like semi-graduated, but like his last year, I don't know if this is true, Wyatt, you can say I'm lying or not, but he like had ChatGPT do a lot. And a lot of my other students, they had him like just straight up write all their uh end of year, what is it, senior year projects. I forgot what it was
Yeah.
called. But
Oh
I'll
the
yeah.
never
students
admit
didn't
to
even know
that.
how to notice. Yeah. You can't admit it yet. Wait like 3 more years and then you're good. But, like, the teachers were having, like, meetings on, like, "What do we do about this?" And I think a lot of the smarter schools are like, "Just treat it like a calculator. People are gonna start using the stuff available to them and can't do anything about it." But
Yeah.
I think, like, there's a limbo period right
True.
now where, like, ChatGPT can just, like, get the degree for you almost, which is crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that's a whole another beast in itself. I mean, not
Yeah.
even talking about like artist work, and writing work. I mean, that's
Oh,
what
yeah.
the strike is a large part of it.
I feel
Chat
bad for the
GPT is
artist part of
crazy.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The writers, I don't know how far that actually go, but, like, the art part of it, like, if I was thinking, because I recently there was a Valentine's Day, like, maybe 2, 3 years ago, and I got a commission for someone to do, like, Studio Ghibli art for me and my wife, and, like, that now, like, I wouldn't pay someone. It's like
Yeah.
you can have thousands of versions for free, and
It's
it's so
crazy.
it's so weird to say that because it's like, you do wanna support people and their passions, but also I want my money to go where I want it to. Yeah, it's sad. That is
Yeah.
a whole
Yeah.
nother thing.
Yeah. It's a rabbit hole.
So like, let's go back on point. So UTD got a pretty good insight of like how you got the job and what you were doing. Uh, let's go into like what you did there, like the things you got done, things you're proud of, you're gonna remember for a long time. Like,
Sure.
boom, this is what I did.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think the program just like exploded right off the bat. Like, I think it definitely started competitive. Like, we had our competitive teams and stuff like that, but our community at like aspects were like really strong. Like, we would host on-campus events and have tons and tons of students come. My biggest like the two biggest things I'm proud of, I should say three. I'd say the community aspect is huge because I thought we had so many students involved. That was number one. Number two, we had six, seven students, I believe, might be more actually. Seven students get full-time jobs in esports, like coming out of our program. That's a huge win for me. Like that shows that they're getting relatively good experience within our program. That like these orgs and companies are actually considering these people, which I thought was really really good. And then more selfishly, I always love our Smash team. That team, like, Smash is fun because there's no ranking system, right? Because like in League of Legends or in any game like that, right? If your team is gold and you're playing against a team that's high diamond, you're gonna lose. Like you come into the match, it's unlikely. You could pull off some crazy miracle, like you can copium your way into like a game, but pretty likely if it's that big of a difference, you're gonna lose. And
Yeah,
you know ahead of time you're gonna lose.
yeah,
Plus with like league events and stuff like that, when one team beats another team, there's no like, oh, let's get together and hang out and play more, let's talk more. But
Mhm.
Smash, not only do you have no idea how these other colleges are because it's unranked players, you have no idea what they're going to play. You have no idea like what they're doing. And on top of all of that, once you're done playing them, they follow each other on Twitter. They play more games together, and now they want to represent their school even more. And so I think Smash, like me getting pretty heavily into college Smash and like starting my league and stuff like that while I was there, I think that's like my selfish baby because I just think that was like one of our strongest teams that like really built a community. Like UTD, like like I mean that was their first like quote unquote sports championship they won there. And so I think because of that, like the community and like the just super bought into the school. And like the local, I think the coolest thing was like the local Smash scene there was really strong, and they started being like, yeah, yeah, UTD. Like you would see them tune into streams and like shit talk the opposing team,
Yeah, yeah.
like and it kind of became like their homies, that it was like, UTD is the DFW school, like we're gonna watch them play and we're gonna support them, which is pretty cool.
I think to give you, like, some validation on, like, the Smash not being so selfish and it is important. So I grew up with, like, the Halo community, and it was the same time as, like, the early Smash community, and the lands were the same, the feeling was the same. Halo kinda fell through because it was like, well, for me, Halo 1 and on, it was, like, a lot of drug culture and, like, not chill
Mm,
culture, and, like, it turned
yeah,
into,
of
like,
course.
online with more, like, structured online. I didn't really follow with Halo, but it didn't go the same way that Smash did, and I think Smash being able to hold on to what it did 20 years ago is incredibly rare, and, like,
Yeah,
I think that's why you saw, the St. Louis event, Gateway Legends, move towards Smash because the LAN feeling from Smash is so much I think just straight up better, like, even
yeah,
for, like, a non-esports person to see that, it makes sense, they see the hype, they see the camaraderie, they see just, like, the community of it, where, like, League, it is just different, you see people play and leave, and that's about it, and, like,
right.
it's sad that, like, a lot of my community building with my program has been the opposite end of, like, your triumphs, where I'm trying to make teams to be, like, bubbled within their teams, compete in their little conferences, and that's it. Like, I'm only just now doing something with my program where I'm trying to set up, like, the local rivalries and stuff like that. Uh, my early ambitions were like, "Let's just play and win. Let's become as good as we can be," because that's what the students wanted too. But
Right.
now I'm seeing, like, how far local can go. Because now there's more schools, there's more opportunity for local. You can have, like, a rivalry school, and what I'm doing this year is I'm setting up an event where, I have a local school that's already a rival in, like, the Division 3 athletics part, and we're gonna do, like, an annual, like, we play our 4 games, we'll do, like, a trophy between the 2, and, that'll be, like, my attempt to try to do what you had going on for you, but I think, like, using what you had at UTD to, like, continue to build that Smash community and, like, use probably the facilities and, like, rental spaces that you had to just do something bigger, it's awesome. I think that
Oh yeah.
actually is, like, not even a selfish triumph, like, it is, like, a good thing to do, and I think more directors should do that. And, like, I fell
Yeah.
prey to that too, like, I definitely wasn't doing stuff like that, and Wyatt knows too. Wyatt's been with me since I started, and he knows, like, doing this, like, local engagement, like, very personalized, regional stuff just was not on my agenda until now.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really
I mean,
surprised me whenever he said that.
Yeah, yeah. Like, you actually care about this, but, like, I'm starting to get convinced because now I'm starting to network, and then now that, like, LANs are coming back post-COVID, I get really jealous of the Smash people, like, they're just a vibe, like, they love each other,
yeah.
they're just gaming all the time. I wish there
Just
was some
happy to
kind of
be here.
community. Yeah, I wish there was some kind of, like, it'd be easy to do weeklies with, like, a league or something like that, but I think that
Yeah.
rank difference really does
Yeah.
it, like, stops it hard,
It,
but I think
yeah.
with, like, new game modes, like, I've had, people in my program, like, show up and do, like, tournaments within, like, a game mode of it or something like that,
Nice.
or, like, just
Yeah.
meet up for TFT or whatever, which isn't League, but it's, like, the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. I think the nice part about League was kind of two things here. First off, the nice part about League and stuff, especially that like there's larger esports events like Worlds, watch parties and stuff. Like I'm sure
Yeah,
most
yeah,
colleges of some kind have some kind of watch party, or at least
and we
students
do
doing
that,
some
yeah.
kind of watch party. Yeah, because it's like everyone knows it's happening at the same time. Everyone knows it's the event to watch, so people get together. So I think you get a lot more community aspect out of that. And then I think at UTD is kind of interesting because UTD is one of those schools, right? That's like top 10, like 15 to 10 to 7. Like they're
Mhm.
not full scholarship, they're not top 500 players. They're not full-time coaches like for their games. So they're going
Yeah,
to lose to those teams like, the Maryvilles and stuff like that. But they're also better than the schools that are like not necessarily like larger public schools. Like they're kind of in that middle.
yeah.
Um, And so I told people straight up, I was like, look, we're gonna do the best we can to win, guys. Like that's our goal. Like, we're gonna try to win, but we're gonna have fun. Like we're gonna have a good time. That's what we want to do. We want to come in, we're gonna be the team that has the most fun. We're gonna try, and we lose, we lose. It is what it is. We win, and we're just gonna have a really good time. Like we're gonna tell people we're having a good time, and we're gonna have a good time. And so I think that like expectation setting helped a lot. And I think that's why Smash was like such a good fit, because our expectations were like, look, we have no idea what the hell college Smash is. We just want to play. We want to have a good time. And then like they kept winning and winning and winning. And like they started it from the ground up. Like it was like not like I brought together 5 scholarship Smash players or 5 scholarship League players. It was just 5 dudes literally just on campus playing Smash, getting together, being like, fuck it, let's compete with the team, and they just went on a run. And I think that was like really like the goal of our program, and just good place, good time.
Yeah, and it's really easy to do that with a program when you have someone leadership. Like even if you like the students see you as leader or not, like someone just spouting that rhetoric goes way, way further than what you think it would. Like it takes a couple years of seeing that holy crap, me just saying we should do this, it just plays out. That's what happens. Uh Man, I keep like not wanting to interrupt you, and then I have like all these things I want to ask, and it's so hard because like I'll forget some of them, and then like, oh man. Oh, so I'm debating, like, should I just, like, interrupt or because I know,
Hey,
like,
you can go ahead.
when you get interrupted too, it's like, "Man, what was I saying?" So,
Hey, that's fine, that's fine. If you're feeling it, go ahead.
but, I wanna not forget the other points that you made too. So, with the student leadership and getting the resumes and the jobs, was that, like, club leadership that was doing stuff, like, outside of the esports programs? Is it, like, pretty wide spectrum what was going on? Or did you have access to, like, actual student workers?
We did have access to student workers. It was really not much though. It would be like, thankful for anything. But
Yeah,
it'd be
yeah.
like $500 for like a year.
Mhm.
So like really like not much. But they were doing it for free in the clubs anyway. So, but for a lot of those students, I mean, you know how it is. Like they just want to be around the program. They want to be able to get access to the room. They want to be able to hang out with the team, and especially for like our staff and stuff. Like our players weren't like top 500 gonna dominate everyone, but they were still really effing good. Like they're still GM in Overwatch, challenger GM in League. So like being a manager or being part of the program, like you get to hang out with the boys. You get to watch this team and chill with them and feel like you're like a part of the team. And like so when they go and compete against these other really stacked teams, you get to be like, yeah, that's my squad. Like I know them. Like I hang out with them.
Yeah, and I think
Um,
even, like,
yeah.
even all the examples you were saying before of, like, we're just gonna have fun, and it is competitive, we are good, but it's there's a cap to it. I think even the top schools say that too, because like, the top schools, they don't want their players leaving every year. I'm sure the school doesn't wanna see that. I don't think any school you would want any school to see, like, the retention of your programs just out there. So, like, even, like, the Maryvilles and the, what's the Houston school?
St. Thomas
Good at league.
or
Yeah, there we go. Even like UST, yeah, it is St. Thomas. I'm sure they don't wanna be seeing their players go, and, like, they're gonna lose sometimes. Like, if their goal is to get number 1 and they don't get number 1, I'm sure a player sitting there like, "Oh, like, maybe I change rosters and stuff like that." I know
right.
players are thinking this way. So, I mean,
Yeah.
even if you're at the level that you are, the level I am, and, like, any viewer, like, they're gonna have these same debates, and it's still all the same, you know, you can manipulate a little bit. Usually you do wanna manipulate it too, because when a student's, like, moving around all over the place for, like, these roster swaps and whatnot, it's usually at the cost of, like, how long they're gonna be in school,
Yeah.
prolonging being an adult. Like, I'm not gonna name him, but I have a student that I've worked with for a long time, and he's been a student for, like, 10 years now. He just, like, keeps going from school to school, and you're able to do that. There's no, like, regulations happening. I don't think even,
Right.
like, the highest conference, like, even NACE probably has the most regulations, or CLOL has the most regulations. They don't even come close to saying, like, "Yeah, you can only play for 4 years." Like, that's not gonna happen for a while, like,
Yeah.
or maybe ever. It'll happen at some point, 'cause
Yeah.
there's gonna be some exploiters that are going to school for, like, 20 years, 'cause it's
Yeah.
you just live for free.
I think that's kind of one of my pet peeves with where collegiate like kind of is going on like the higher competitive end is it just
Yeah.
feels like an esports org. It feels like you're joining a team. And that's what I tell my students all the time. Like, guys, we're gonna win, but like you're here to get an education. Like if you're telling me right now that we could win a championship or you could like graduate, like I could give less of a shit about a championship. Like that means literally nothing to me. And it should mean literally nothing to you. Like
And it's because you're an
comparatively, if
adult.
you could choose one or the other. Yeah.
And it's
But
because you're an adult, and, like,
yeah.
there's adults out there that are caring about the championship too. but I feel like a lot of them are, like, really out for, like, living their amateur dream or living, like, the pro
Yes.
dream they didn't get to do. Because like, you see a lot
Yeah.
of the directors who are running this basically amateur team or online, whatever. It compounds on itself, and yeah, I mean, I think I share I probably won't say like, how hard I share the passion of, like, not wanting to do the amateur stuff in collegiate, but you're out of it,
Yeah.
and you can say whatever the hell you want.
You know,
Yeah,
I just want to make sure that like, but like off of it, like those opinions reflect on the way students talk about college, right? They're not talking about it
yeah,
to go and be like, I'm looking for this degree path, and that's always like generally one of the first things I look for is when I see a student talking about where they want to go to school is like what degree paths they interested in, and it's okay if they don't know, right? But if they don't mention it at all, they're like, I'm a challenger player looking for team. It's like looking for team, bro. Like you're
yeah.
going to college, and I,
Or the posts
you
that
know,
say, "Looking for team for this semester,"
right,
and
right,
they're already out of
exactly,
school. I'm like,
exactly.
"Dude," it's like, and whenever I mention it
Yeah,
on Twitter, like, I get blasted by all the, like, the kids. Like, they're not kids, I
yeah,
mean, they're just, like, young, they're college students, they're fans of the team, they're on the team, whatever, and I don't know, it feels so responsible to have the viewpoint that we do, but from them, it's not, you're getting in the way of what they wanna do, and what's also sad, it's the most responsible way of them to do what they wanna do. The amateur teams are just garbage, garbage. I mean, I was looking, I shouldn't say, but, like, I have players that are on amateur teams, and they're looking to, like, continue amateur and not be at collegiate, and I don't wanna say no 'cause it is an experience, but the amateur teams, they've been the same way for, like, 8 years. They're just bad. They're
yeah,
responsibly bad for, like, what the route should be. Collegiate's able to be better. Yeah, the roster is better in amateur. Maybe the commitment level is better there, and how much you can play is better there. So the probability of going pro is better there. But then if you shape yourself to be like an online school or a program where you can have very little commitment to the school and the degree and all that stuff, it usually is just better.
yeah.
So
It,
it's
yeah,
like we can't have the opinion that we have, but it makes sense to have the opinion that we have.
true.
It's
You know,
it's so
but at the end of the day, like I also realize, like I can't fault the students, right? They're just trying to get like
yeah.
they now because of that they get to go to school for free. And like
Yeah,
if I
they at
was a
least get
student, like
something, you know?
right.
Yeah.
And on the amateur team aspect, it's kind of interesting, especially with all like the NACL changes going on, which is like the tier two League of Legends league
Yeah.
for LCS. Like Maryville qualified into NACL directly as like their team. And like there are other
Mhm.
schools going to get in. So like you're starting to see the mix of the two pretty heavily. If like in one way or the other, like if you're
Can I
like
confirm what the rule is to
aspirations.
see, like, what you're talking about? So, like, the NACL, so it's a lot of teams where you could be paid, and if you are paid being, like, an employee and whatnot, you're not gonna qualify to be allowed to be on a collegiate team, correct?
If you are yes, if you're on the global contract database is what it's called.
I've seen that before. Yeah, yeah.
That means you're making minimum wage or minimum full-time employee salary in California, which is like 65K. And that
Yeah.
means if you're on that, you cannot be on a college team. But
Mhm.
you can be on a college team that qualifies into NACL, but you don't have to be on the GCD to be in, or the global contract database to be in NACL. You can just be on a team in NACL. And so
Yeah.
colleges who are like pay like full-time students that are like, getting whatever like free tuition, they can play in NACL if they wanted to. So
Yeah, but if they're making enough money, an employee of some other team and that team's competing, that makes sense they can't join. And I think
right,
it's not
right.
gonna be too much of a problem for league. League's kinda, like, had a long time to mature, and I think, like, LCS and Academy is pretty mature compared to other esports, but I could see that being like, if Rocket League had something like that, or if Overwatch had CS or not CS, Call of Duty had something like that, it'd be, like, a massive problem,
Yeah.
maybe,
But there's a
because
lot of pro players that play Rocket League for sure.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just like Riot's the only company that's being responsible with that, and, Blizzard, I don't know what the I don't think
Yeah.
anyone knows what the hell they're doing, and, Rocket League might make their changes, but then it seems like a lot of people are gonna follow somewhat what Riot's doing. I'm not following completely, maybe you can, like, educate me, where, they're letting third parties kinda, like, manage it, but maybe the third parties aren't managing the governing of it, correct?
Yeah, it's like a mix of both.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think to your point earlier too, right? Like joining an amateur League of Legends team is a risk one way or the other, right? It's like a high risk. And so I think that's why college is nice, because college is less of a high risk, because even if you go there and you hate it and you don't like your team and you want to leave, you at least have a semester's worth of classes under your belt.
Yeah.
Whereas
You're
if you
maybe
leave
not
an amateur
contracted or
team,
something.
right, right, right.
Yeah.
Or at least, but if you leave an amateur team, I mean, some of these amateur players are making like $2,000 for a year, if less.
Mm.
And so I guess it depends on where you value the $2,000 for a year versus like a 2 semesters worth of college. But that's why it's nice that these colleges are now getting up, like especially the highest end ones are getting opportunities to also do academy, because now they get to go to school and get that degree, but can also get a higher level of competition. And like an interesting thing too is that we're in the academy playoffs right now, and the top two teams that just played in winners finals were both non-affiliated LCS teams. So it was like Team Fear versus Disguised Toast team. So it's pretty cool that like non-LCS affiliate, like true amateur orgs are playing each other like to make it to that finals, is like a true testament to like how the gap is kind of closing a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. And also, there's a lot of weirdness that went on with Academy too in the past like 2 years. Had a few players on Academy. One of them was on 100 Thieves Academy, another on CLG, and they kind of like told me case by case. I won't like talk about it, but like a lot of the gripes and the I guess the structures of like contract holding and stuff like that, that stuff
Yeah.
was happening, and that's why they left too. It was some stats stuff to hear, but I think it's time by time, like the experience of it and the exploits are going to slowly go away. There's going to be better fixes to it, and I think it's for sure moving in the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Um,
agree.
Man, I'm doing the same thing again, where it's like we're saying all this stuff, and that, so UTD, you talked about everything that you got started there. I wanted to one of the main reasons you're one of the rare people that were like doing collegiate, you loved it, you still love it, and hence why you're talking to me. But you got out of it because why?
Yeah, I think the biggest aspect is I just really loved like league management. I think
Oh
that's
yeah, yeah, you
like,
said that
yeah,
before, but like
yeah.
outside of just like the passion and whatnot, um, just in a bubble of just collegiate, like if you're gonna keep doing collegiate, what would have led you to not keep doing it? Because I'm assuming there was maybe a sense of that too, of like, there's things I want to do that are not getting done. There's
Yeah. I
anything like
think
that.
I would have to have a school like absurdly buy in. We're talking like full-time staff member for community, full-time staff member for like coaches of teams, like full ride scholarships, and like the school wants to do everything they possibly can to see this program be at the absolute highest level. I think that's why I love Riot so much, is because like every day, like every week, I'm like, I have a crazy idea. I'm like, I wonder if this is possible, and I can actually like dig like into what's possible. Like, and I think in college esports, like it's very hard to find schools like that. It's very tough to find a
Yeah,
school that's like, you dream it, let's work to see if we can do it. It's more like you dream it, it's not going to happen. Let's temper expectations here,
and
which
it
is
goes to
like,
your
and
earlier point because it's
yeah,
just not going to happen if it's not an endemic person. And then like
right,
being in industry, which you are now, everybody's endemic. Everybody's
yeah,
for it. Every idea is cool, and everybody
right,
has. I'm sure everybody probably has like some kind of input to like, yeah, this would work. This is why, and they'll
exactly,
have some experience. So it's probably like
yeah.
it's probably awesome being where you are, just having the people you can talk to. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong. Like what we did have at UTD, like I mean, in every program there can always be more, right? Like I was really thankful for what we did have. Like UTD is the reason I had my job at Riot, like no question. Like they prepared me pretty heavily, but it's nothing compared to being in a place where like, I don't need to explain what gaming and esports is. Like the discuss, I still remember like my like third day at Riot. It's not even like second day at Riot. I remember being in like a meeting where we were talking about like the future of the LCS and like high level, and like someone like asked my opinion. And I was like, bro, like I just finished the paperwork like an hour ago. And it's like they like Riot really puts a ton of faith in you, and like you really got to be on your shit, but it's also like other people are also really on their shit. And it's like when you go in these like esports discussions and stuff like that, it's like such a high level of thinking. It's like, and to my point of like league management and comp ops, like these discussions I had, like, I'm making like a competitive ops league ops decision in college, and I have to explain to people like what a jungler is, what a player is. But
Yeah.
like I'm having these discussions at Riot, and we're talking about like the competitive integrity of the league and like how does this impact global esports. And I
Yeah.
think so it's like it's like a different level. It's like to your point before, everyone's endemic here now, quote unquote. And so it just like discussions start at like immediately like, oh, we're on your shit. Let's jump right into it. So I think that's I'd have to have a college that like really is like all on board 100%. We get esports, we get what you're trying to do here, and we want to do anything we can to like make it successful, which is like almost impossible to find, which I get. I also get it from a college standpoint. It's very hard to get that full buy-in. Like, you know, anything is better than nothing in some regards, hopefully. But it's also tough to get that like, we are 100% on board.
Yeah, but I think from, like, the third's eye view, so, like, you going into that meeting and being like, "Why are they talking to me?" I'm sure they do their due diligence, and, like, me knowing you coming from, like, our sector and going towards industry sector, you're a good candidate because you just have so much experience, you care, you actually, like, really care, and you're trying to have, like, good work ethic towards that care. And then you come in and you become, like, their maintenance knowledge. Like, yeah, they're very knowledgeable, but I'm sure you're gonna be the same way, like, 5 to 10 years, new guy's gonna come in and you're gonna be like, "Yo, dude, what's going on? What's your opinion?" And it's
Yeah.
a relevant opinion because you're closer to like, generation of gamer, that generation of, like, what we care about. So, it's really cool to hear that a company cares like that because 'cause I'm
Yeah.
sure there's others, like, I would assume maybe Blizzard's not doing that because they mess up so often with what they're doing.
One way or the other, there's always pluses and minuses to everywhere you work, like no matter what. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
obviously there's always going to be aspects you like and you don't like. I think the cool thing I like a lot about Riot too is that because of my job, I've been able to like give back to college. Like as an example, at the last three summer/spring finals we've done, the day before we've had two colleges or one or two colleges, depending on where it is at, come and play test on stage for us and get to take pictures and stuff like that. So their players get to sit in the seats that the pros sit in. They get to take pictures. They get to be on stage. Sometimes they walk past pros and like get to be like, hi, hi
Yeah, yeah.
Bjergsen. And we give them free tickets and stuff like that. And so I think that is like really cool that I'm able to like leverage my position now to be able to give back to the community like I still care a lot about. And so I love that a lot. And it's you get to work a lot with like college students. Like I don't know if you know John Gallagher. He's like sweet, like John from Battlefy is what he used to be in the
Oh,
CLOL
okay.
world.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And John's the man. John works at Riot now. Incredibly smart man. But he at spring and summer finals always does like a college esports booth. Basically, it's like a booth where students can come up and talk about it, and it's always bumping. Like there's always people coming up all day, every day, coming to talk about it. And it's cool to like be on the other end of that and being like, like talking to the students about it and have them be so interested in the game that they're like, oh, I go to college for this now. I play on my team. I do this, I do this. And then we can take their info down and send them swag packages and stuff like that. So it's like, although I'm not really in college esports, like what I was by any means, it's cool that I still am able to stay connected because I do really care a lot about it.
Yeah, and so does Riot, and that's why you're able to stay connected. And like, it really supports. I don't know if they're doing this purposely, but like, it supports the life cycle of the company, their games, all that stuff. Because if you help school be alive, that's people playing when they become adults. That's adults having kids and having their kids play, and it just becomes like we're not going to see what it becomes, but it seems like. I mean, if I have kids, they're going to be playing League with me for sure. Like that's
Yeah,
going to happen.
exactly.
And like,
I don't know. You say that they'll probably be playing Fortnite though.
well, yeah. I mean, there's that like there's that tier list, and high schools are doing it too, where it's like that tier list of games they're playing because it's happening now. There's a lot of middle schools around here that have like 300 kids in their program, and they're playing Rocket League and Fortnite, and then they get to high school still playing Fortnite. They're playing like Valorant and Overwatch. What's crazy to me is it's seeming like the way League is surviving is a lot of people are ending up coming to college, and I'm getting a lot of people switching from these other games coming to League. It just seems
Yeah,
like League's a very adult game. I've had a lot of people
yeah.
switch from like Rainbow to League, CS to League, and it's crazy that this is happening because like you're getting into it that late. It's usually like a thing that like pushes you away
Yeah.
because it's so much learning to do, but it's the learning that they like doing.
Which indirectly one way or the other could mean that college is a path to pro. And it's
I think
also
it
like
really
you have to.
is. Yeah,
It could be. But like league one way or the other, it's like interesting because like the best player in the LCS this year is Jojo Pion, who's like 18.
yeah.
Like how many other sports across the world, the best player in their respective league is 18 years old. And so I'm hoping the age. My personal hope is that the age goes up, which is like to your point, like college students play league a lot more than like younger generations do. But it is also tough to get high scores to play league. Like high scores definitely are more into Fortnite or console games for sure, especially in North America
I
and
think
Valorant.
it'll get better. I think the colleges are gonna
Yeah.
help it get better. I mean, with Overwatch didn't have much support for the structure at all, and, like, just Overwatch players in high school knowing that there's so many colleges doing it, because like, when they started, like, 6, 7 years ago, it was boom, Overwatch and League, like, everybody do this, and since Overwatch was newer, I think it just, like, took off faster. I think League just has a lot of hiccups, like, Play Versus, like, beat it up a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
it's definitely gonna make a comeback. It's, from what I see, I have so many, like, high schools around me. I think there's, like, 150 high schools that have, like, programs,
Oh yeah.
and it's really easy to, like, just set up that community and have them, like, naturally get recruited to you because you show that you care about league or whatnot.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's still out there for sure. People really love it.
Mhm. Um, so, s I was assuming more with you with, leaving UTD. Was there any, like, I don't wanna, like, blast anybody, but
Nah.
was there anything, like, you wanted to do that couldn't happen? Because we talked about the things you could do and you're proud of and, like, successful program, awesome thing, but
Yeah.
anything more that you wanted to do and there was just, like, blockages and
I think
just
the
talk about that?
biggest well, like, one way or the other, like, I felt that I just needed to progress my career, and like, I love my admins to death there. Like my our athletic director, his name's Bill Pettit, one of the nicest people I've ever met. Like my manager, Rob Bogardus, to this day, I talk to them. Like they are amazing people. Um, but I think like me personal, like my personal growth, like I just wanted to just really go hard. Like I really wanted, like I knew I aimed high. Like I just really like I
Yeah,
wanted to be at Riot because I knew that was like where to be with esports. And I think with UTD, like when we hit COVID, with like many other programs, like our budget got completely cut. Like we were like working like absolute bare minimum. I mean, we were all online, right? But then when we came back into school, like they kept the budget the same because it's like, look, we're struggling here. Like we
yeah,
we're,
like
we can't do
recovery mode.
anything. Right, right. And I'm like, look, I get it. Like, I don't blame you guys for doing this, but like, this is not what I want. Like, I don't want to be a part of a program that's basically being like, we're just surviving here at this point. Like, I want to be a program that's like, we want to put, we want to put emphasis on this. And I think that's like indirectly as being a part of the athletic department. That's kind of a problem. Apparently, they're now switching out of it, hopefully, into student affairs, which is what I've heard,
Yeah.
possibly,
There's a
which
lot
is
of problems with
awesome.
Division 3. I mean, my school's
Yeah.
Division
Oh
3,
yeah.
and I had a lot of trouble with, like, how scholarship worked, and now that NCAA, like, knows what esports is, they have, like, rules for how
Right.
scholarship works, and I mess it
Yeah.
up
And
every year.
yeah.
Athletics messes it up every year. It's just a dangerous place to be. Yeah.
Completely agree. And it's like, and it's like, the benefits you get out of athletics don't necessarily outweigh the negatives. Like they're having our students do like concussion training and like drug testing and stuff like that. And I'm like, guys, like, yeah, like I get it. You're trying to make them as part of the program, but it's like you're almost making their lives harder here, right? And it's to like, and to the point of the athletes too, like the Division 3 like sports players, they're also looking at this and being like, this is stupid. They don't need this. Like they don't
Yeah,
need to
yeah.
take up these resources. And we agree, like,
Mhm.
we don't want to take these resources away from you. We think you guys actually get a lot of value out of this, whereas we don't necessarily get a lot of value. And so I think it's a lot of like old traditional ways that were rooted that they just like didn't want to get out of. Um,
And I don't know if it's the
and
same way
yeah,
with manager and boss, but it was, so here, we couldn't find the actual rules if we have to get, like, drug tested, if we have to have an athletic trainer, if we have to do all these different trainings. So since we couldn't find it, I just asked my boss, like, "I'll participate in the things that make sense and that we want, but can we just, like, not do the rest of it?" And he was super cool with it. Like, I have a really cool boss too, and, the athletic director. The assistant athletic director is really smart too, so it's I could see a situation where you're under people that just, like, don't care enough to change, and they're just gonna keep doing what they've been doing because it's so much easier to do that and not do a differential thing
right.
for subdivision. That makes a lot of sense. Like, that's what happened to us for, like, the first year, and I was like, "Yo, this is a lot, like, it probably costs you money too," and we eventually
Yeah.
got out of it.
Yeah, I think for them it was like a big sense of like, well, we're already doing it for the other teams. We should just do
Yeah.
it for you all. And it's like it's easier to keep doing what we're doing than to put the effort in to change it. And as an example too, it was required that students had either like a secondary insurance, I believe, or some kind of insurance, and we had students that like didn't have it. Like they'd never played in a sport, they didn't need it, and the school was like ready to kick them off the team because they didn't have it. It's like, guys, like they're sitting at computers, like it's just not the same. Like you have to
Yeah.
recognize that it's not the same. And, you know, like I said before, I loved my time at UTD. Honestly, I still think to this day like it's a really good school for esports and gaming, but I think they are kind of moving at like a slower pace that I would want out of a program. Like I want something that's like we're ready to move. Like I'm past the point of excuses now. You know what I mean? I'm at the point now where I'm like,
Mhm.
look, like here's what we want to
'Cause
do.
you know
Here's our
what's
goals.
possible. Yeah,
Right,
because you know
right.
it's possible. You see some other people doing it, but, like, what I'm starting to see, and I don't know if you agree, is, like, the state looks at the state, and then whatever's happening nationally, no, it's not
Right.
our competition, not our problem, we don't have to move at their pace. So that was another reason why I, like, strategically had Austin from Austin last week, and then you from Dallas now.
Yeah,
Uh,
which is also funny that you mentioned that, which is also kind of what held UTD back because UTD could be like, oh look at us compared to other Texas schools, like we're ahead of them, and, you know, we're doing stuff that they're not doing because they're all these huge schools that, but now that like when you look at other schools out of state, they're like, oh no, we don't want to do that, you know, we just wanted to be better than like UT Austin, which doesn't have anything, you know, we wanted to be better than, you know, UT San Antonio, which has like a student club program, so it almost
yeah.
like made their lack of pushing like justified.
And they'll only compare apples to apples, and that's another
Right.
key thing, like, when I think, like, going
Exactly.
towards, because I wanted to end up asking, we're naturally doing it, of, like, what's needed, what can we grow towards, what are the tactics to do this? Um, the comparison thing is a very real thing, and you have to know, like,
Yeah.
what they're gonna compare to. You can say all day, like, "Hey, look what Northwood's doing. They're a small school, they got all this." No, like, they're not, no way.
Right.
Especially if you're not in
Right.
Michigan, you're not doing all those things. But whatever Austin was doing, like, I think there's gonna be a big tactic to, like, if you were still at UTD and Austin was last year ago, Austin director from Austin, just same name. I don't know if you guys know each other, do you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Austin's
okay.
the man. Yeah.
And, like, if he was starting his job and he had a contact with you and you were like, "Hey, man, like, you're gonna beat us in every possible way. Like, here's I'm gonna tell you everything to do." And I think that's gonna be a tactic that people can start using.
Yeah.
Um, 'Cause I think it would work. It's kind of, I don't know how sneaky or morally right it is, but it does make sense. People should naturally be looking for advice for the people that have been doing this too, because that's that's gonna be the quickest way. We all want things to move quicker. We wanna establish this faster, but the competition between the schools that are doing the same things, like same degrees, same recruitment from, like, state,
Right.
within the same, like, geographic, that's the only way. They're not
Yeah.
gonna compare anything else. Even, like, salaries, they're not gonna do that. Like, it's gonna be salary comparisons. Like, if I'm looking at the salary for my job and I'm like, "Hey, can I get a raise?" And everyone else around me is making, like, 5 to 10 less, it's not gonna happen. No way.
Yeah. Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, you
Yeah.
can't really argue for, like, metrics and ROI and how successful you can be and, like, "Look, this is successful." There's so
Yeah.
much of, like, "This is how much we invested."
And
Uh,
and it
yeah.
and I think to that like kind of point too, I think the endemic non-endemic aspect too, like I worked my ass off at UTD. Like you know how it is, like weekends, weeknights, and I think
Yeah.
like my first 2 years, like I was all day every day, and not a single admin batted an eye. Like they just didn't give a shit. They either didn't know enough to give a shit or didn't give a shit. But Riot is like if I tell my manager like like this past week I had COVID and I was like I was pretty sick. And like one day I was like, oh, I'm just gonna work through it. My manager's like, hell no, you ain't working through. Like, get out of here. Like, take this time off. You know, like
Yeah.
if we've LCS scheduled that'll like take us to the weekends. He's like, you're not working. Like, you're an idiot. Get your 2 days.
Mhm.
I think they like recognize like that esports can get on that like grind, and they're like, you need to balance your work life. But colleges don't recognize that as much, and so they don't step in to do that. They're just like, oh, you do whatever you want. You know, if you're gonna burn yourself out, have at it. You know, we're not gonna get in your way. But Riot's very much like you need to balance it. Like you have to chill the fuck out.
Yeah, and, like, there's not very many of us. I guess this is one aspect of, like, telling the others of, like, working your ass off. There's probably a small probability you do boost your program success a little bit, but at the cost of you, it's just not sustainable. Like,
Right.
everyone comes into it thinking, like, "I'm super passionate, I'm gonna build this thing," and, like, a lot of them are very genuine about it. and you get 5 years deep, like, even, like, I think the responsible people, 2 years deep, they're gonna know this isn't sustainable. Like, you
Yeah.
should be, like, wanting to get into a relationship or having other hobbies, being healthy, having friends,
Yeah.
doing all
Yeah.
these other things, and you just don't have the time to do it if you're, like, gun-hoing everything. Because you know how it is,
Right.
you're just getting messaged all the time, and if you
Yep.
feel like you're not helping your students at the time they need help, then what kind of asset are you? And
Exactly.
yeah, it's just you can't keep up with it, and, like, the students aren't gonna understand, because
Yeah.
they're just young. So it needs to be you that balances it, but you're always thinking, "This balancing that I'm doing is at the cost of the success."
Right. And even looking back at my time in Texas, like, and especially when you're working that much, like I said, I moved from Pennsylvania to Dallas for that job and just jumped right into it right away. And
Yeah,
I really like, outside of like other directors at school, I basically never met any friends. Like to this day, for better
yeah,
or worse, like the closest people I know from my time there are the students. Like I would honestly consider them friends. Like I'm going to a Smash tournament in August, and I have UTD students that are, oh, like old UTD students that aren't there anymore, going to the tournament because I'm still friends with them to this day. And
yeah,
it's like your friend group almost becomes like the students, which is not healthy one way or the other,
yeah,
because then you're like a faculty student friendship, and obviously that has its complications. But but also for me, like when I started there, I was like 25, 26, and I had
mm,
students that were like 23, 24, and I'm like, this is kind of close.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's a weird balance between the two, but I also think that's really nice because you can come in and like talk about like modern day culture and stuff like that and be on the same page with kind of where you're feeling, and that was always pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's what they want, and, like, it
Yeah.
is definitely not healthy when you're there, and, like, I've had assistants in the past because 'cause I've had the fortunate thing of being able to hire assistants. I've had assistants that are, like, almost the same age as them and still almost the same age as them with different assistants. It is just scary, and they don't know it's scary until it's, like, almost too late. You try your best to warn them. Uh, yeah, it's able to be really bad, but I do think it's able to be healthy, like, if you keep that line while they're there, and then after when they start their career, you're somewhat mentoring them still a little bit, and then I think it's very natural to, like, stay friends with them afterwards. I don't know if you would agree if
Yeah.
that's still unhealthy just because of the generation gap or whatever, like, you should be making friends your own age or whatever, but it's still, like, within the same realm, and I think the internet's
Right.
kinda, like,
Right.
helped make, like, younger generations and, like, us and, like, me being older. How old are you? Sorry. Like, 20s.
31.
Oh, really? I didn't know you're
Yeah.
that close to me.
I'm I'm up there. We're in our 30s. We're basically dead at this point. We're senior citizens,
Yeah,
honestly.
like, if you were still collegiate, we'd be, like, within, like, the top 5, top
That's
10
true.
oldest. I think maybe I'm wondering if I'm number 1. No, there's no way I'm number 1 because there's, Doc from Boise.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's others out there too.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Maybe not as vocal others like on Twitter, but they're definitely out there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's the
and
one
I
thing that's another reason why I'm doing this podcast of, like, the vocal on Twitter part is
Yeah.
starting to be scary because like,
Yeah.
I'll do some interviews, I'll talk to some people, and, like, they just look me up and they're like, "Yeah, if I was you, I wouldn't be doing what you do," and I'm like, "Shit, that makes a lot of sense." Like,
There's obviously some like how it is. The
I
social
do.
media world one
I
way or the
definitely
other.
do. Yeah. But, like, the relevance to it, I got caught, like, thinking the relevance to it was a lot more relevant than it actually is.
Yeah.
It's just part of, like,
y-
getting older, you start to see
Yeah.
it's not what it is, you know?
Yeah. Agree.
Yeah.
Very much
Mm.
agree.
We only have, like, a few minutes left. I like to give some time to just tell everybody what you're doing, give an update on you, the people that know of you, and, like, curious, if I wasn't talking to people on networking and whatnot and I knew of you, I'd wanna know what you're doing now, so
Sure. Yeah.
fill that itch, scratch that itch.
Sure. Been yeah, things are going really well. I'm working at Riot now. I work on competitive and league operations. I mainly work on the LCS and NACL, which is like the new academy. I mainly work on like just operations for those. I actually did find out recently that I am going to Worlds. I'll be working at Worlds. So that'll be pretty hyped. Worlds is
New
in
Jersey,
Korea.
right? Oh, wait, no, no, that's,
No, no,
finals, that's
Worlds,
finals, that's
Worlds
finals.
in
Yeah, yeah,
Jersey, baby, let's
yeah,
go. Uh,
yeah.
yeah. Oh well, summer finals will be in New Jersey, which will actually be
Yeah,
really cool because I'll be like a half hour from like my house, so all
yeah,
my
yeah,
friends are gonna come. Um, but then yeah, Worlds is gonna be in Korea, and then finals is gonna be in like a Korean baseball stadium, like a big one. And I'm really hyped because I'm a huge baseball fan, so I'm
yeah.
super hyped to be able to check that out. Yeah,
I
that'll
just need to
that'll be a lot of
know.
fun.
I just need to know when I should start packing my bags.
You can come along. You wanna come play test for us? You just gotta pay for your flights and hotel.
Ah, we'll make it work.
Yeah,
I have
so
so many
it
I have a current league student is a challenger ADC of mine. He's in Korea now. Wyatt was in Korea,
nice.
what, 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2 years ago now.
Yeah, and, like, just so you know with Wyatt, because he's trying to, like, project what he like, Wyatt, he's trying to go, like, heavy, heavy production. Dream job is, like, LCS or LCK. Well, LCK because he wants to be in Korea. But, yeah, I mean, this is part of, like, his resume building for it. Like, you can see, like, some of the assets look pretty close to, like, the dive and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, yeah,
But
and Korea is hella fun.
yeah,
See, my favorite part, well, not my favorite part, but one thing I really liked about Korea is that I was able to play Korean solo queue, and Korean solo queue is has everything that you love about regular solo queue because the players are like, but the players are really cracked. You get to just queue up whenever you want. It's super low ping.
yeah.
However, because I don't speak Korean, when they're flaming me for being dog shit, I don't even know what they're saying. So it's even better because now my mental stability is stronger. Because like I don't know when they're telling me I'm horrible when I like fuck up. I'm like in North America when I fuck up, like you better believe they're telling you fucked up. But in
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Korea, I'm sure they're telling you. I just don't. I just don't know if they're telling me.
But that's every game. It's not even like a league thing. I know a
Yeah.
lot of people like to say, like, league's the most toxic, but now that I've been with other games for so long, they're all toxic. It's like anything that's team-based and you can put some blame on like, "Oh, it's not my fault, it's this guy that did this." You're gonna have that, and you're gonna have people being just crazy about it.
You know what's the first game I've actually started recently playing this game that I feel like the community is actually more positive than negative is BattleBit Remastered. That
Oh,
community
yeah. I
is
love BattleBit.
super super positive. They are
Yeah.
so funny. They're so funny.
I think it's, like, the style and also, like,
Yeah,
how the game probably got marketed to them because they probably just, like, saw some YouTube videos or some TikToks of, like,
right.
people just dying, getting drug all over the place, and it's
Screaming.
hard yeah.
Yeah.
And, like
Blasting music.
yeah, yeah, it's just got
Yeah.
that vibe, but then, like, the mechanics of
Yeah.
the game are actually good.
Yeah.
Yeah, very,
It's
very good
very fun to
mechanics.
play. It feels really rewarding to actually like shoot in that game. It's really well made. It's like $15 too. But yeah, it's so fun. You have the chaos in the beginning, everyone's screaming. It's it's
Mhm.
it's a really good time.
I thought the same thing of, Valorant when I started playing
Mhm.
Valorant when it first came out, and then I played a little bit recently, but I just didn't run into anyone being toxic, like, at all, and I played maybe, like, 100 hours, like, that's it, and, I don't know if it's true. It probably isn't because my players are like, I hear them, I hear how they're getting talked to sometimes, but I thought that maybe, like, voice comms make it to where people aren't gonna be as much of an asshole, and I think it does a little bit to a certain extent, but
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it's just not
Yeah.
as rare in Valorant because I thought like, "Oh shit, like voice comms is the key." Like you put voice comms in the game and like it's gonna alleviate itself. But I think with like
Yeah.
such a history of League, you put voice comms in League, you're gonna have some
Yeah.
different stuff happening for a bit.
I think the thing with voice comms, I'm a big fan of League and voice comms in League personally because I think it would be beneficial. But I mean, obviously, it's like your bullies are even more bullies now. Like now, your bullies are screaming in your ear that you're dog
Yeah, it's
shit.
able to be more
Um,
hurtful for sure.
right,
Like
and
even
and
if
like you're
because
yeah,
like BattleBit detects a bad word immediately and you're gone. Like
right,
you've probably seen that. And I'm
yeah,
sure like Valorant or any other game could do the same thing. But you could still like get around that and really, really hurt someone.
right.
So I
Plus,
do understand
plus
that.
like voice comms are more like obviously you can meet them, but they're more detrimental to your actual gameplay. Like you're going to make a play and someone's screaming in your ear. I mean, even in Valorant, like you're trying to clutch something out. Um, Someone's going to be telling you what to do for better or worse. Like they could be helping or not, but they're going to be actively in your ear, like yelling or telling you stuff. I think that's more like impactful of actual gameplay than like someone in chat telling you like your dog water.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, we ran out of time, but thank you for coming on. Genuinely, I do think you are an awesome person. I hope you
No,
stay in
thank you.
esports forever. I
Appreciate
hope
that.
you continue to like talk to me and like
Of
keep in touch
course.
with like the collegiate people.
That's always a
You're an awesome
pleasure.
person. I hope you go like really far. Like if your passions are like genuine, you want to like keep going and make esports an awesome thing. Like whatever your passion is, I wish like the best for you. Like you are the person that should go as far as you can.
Thank you, Troy. That means a fucking hell of a lot. It was really nice.
Yeah,
It's always a pleasure. The podcast is awesome. I always love having these discussions. It's always a ton of fun to talk about stuff. Wyatt, thank you for helping with production. Like honestly, you did a great job. Really
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
it.
you. Thank you for being
If you
on.
when you're gonna hide in my bags and come to Korea, we'll figure it out, make it work.
Don't
So
do
Yep.
that. Do not offer
Oh
that
yeah,
shit. 'Cause he
don't
will
tempt me
do
with a
that.
good
Like,
time.
He's like, "I'm on my way, bro. Say
he will.
less."
He will do that. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
already as soon as I saw the location, I already looked up the flights for that week. I was like, maybe I could do it, maybe I couldn't.
I will say, if you ever need like a competent sidekick or anything like that, Wyatt is like the best sidekick I've ever had. I mean, he's graduating like right now.
That's
So
what's up. Let's
yeah,
go.
yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Cool.
All right. Well, thanks again. Appreciate the time and goodbye.